The tropics of Queensland are stunning, one of my favourite places in our down under land of amazing landscapes. But as an off-the-track owner, the tropics are also a challenge on a few fronts. The high heat and humidity create potential electrolyte deficiency and heat stress issues. The warm season grasses can cause severe mineral deficiency and sometimes make it difficult for your off-the-track to maintain weight and muscle. Skin conditions and biting insects are commonplace, and feed and hay storage can be tricky. But it's not all bad news for the horses. When all of these challenges are well managed, off-the-tracks can and do thrive in the tropics. Join me as I share with you some tips and tricks for making this happen. Tropical environments are defined by their heat and humidity, and it is the combination of these climatic factors that present the biggest challenge to off-the-tracks living in tropical environments. High heat and humidity make it necessary for horses to offload significant amounts of body heat in order to maintain normal body temperature and avoid heat stress. Failure to maintain normal body temperature results in heat stroke, with disastrous and life-threatening consequences, meaning being able to cool themselves down is crucial. Horses use a number of methods to cool themselves. The most important cooling system is evaporative cooling. Evaporative cooling happens when a horse creates sweat to wet its own skin, and then airflow allows the sweat to evaporate. As the sweat evaporates, it takes some heat with it and cools the horse. In tropical high heat, high humidity climates, horses will sweat a lot. The high heat means they have a lot of extra heat to offload, and the high humidity makes it harder for evaporation to occur. So horses stay hot for longer and sweat more. And being off the tracks, who seem to sweat a lot anyway, it takes a huge amount of sweat to keep you off the track in the cool and safe range. The biggest problem your off the track may run into is they may stop sweating. And if they do that, they can end up in a life-threatening situation. If your off the track doesn't sweat properly, they can't offload heat efficiently. And they will become, at best, heat stressed. Heat stress then causes your horse to shunt their blood to the skin surface to try and offload heat. In the process, this literally starves your horse's gut and organs and will cause issues like leaky gut, organ damage, and systemic inflammation. And worse, if your off the track stops sweating altogether, it can be deadly, meaning it's critical that your off the track keeps sweating. I want to make a point here of saying that if your off the track is not sweating, it is not an indication that they have acclimatized to the heat. Instead, it is an indication that there is something very wrong with their temperature control system and it needs immediate attention. And the first thing you should do is follow this next piece of advice and give them what they need to sweat. Keeping your off-the-track sweating relies on making sure they have all of the ingredients they need to make sweat. Sweat is predominantly made from water and electrolyte minerals. If your horse runs out of either of these, they will stop sweating. Water is simple and obvious. Make sure your off-the-track has constant access to fresh water that is so clean you'd be happy to drink it. Make it easy to access and also try to keep the water as cool as possible by having it in the shade or changing it on a regular basis. Electrolytes are not so simple and obvious. It is deceiving, in fact, how much electrolyte mineral your off-the-track loses on a daily basis when living in the tropics. On a hot and humid day, your horse will probably lose more than 10 litres of sweat. And that is when they are just standing around doing absolutely nothing except trying to stay cool. In that 10 litres of sweat, there will be around 120 grams of electrolyte mineral. It's literally handfuls of mineral. And here is the thing, if your horse runs out of these electrolyte minerals, they will stop sweating because they simply don't have the ingredients they need to make sweat. So one of the most important things you need to pay attention to when feeding off the tracks in the tropics is making sure they get enough electrolytes. The three major electrolytes in your off-the-track sweat are sodium, chloride, and potassium. Let's start with potassium because in some ways it is the easy one. Forage is incredibly rich in potassium. Most pastures and hays will easily contain at least 15 grams of potassium per kilogram of dry matter. If your off-the-track is eating 10 kilograms of forage per day, that is equivalent to a minimum of 150 grams of potassium. And this is plenty to meet requirements and keep them sweating. Sodium and chloride, on the other hand, are usually low to very low in forages. But sodium and chloride together are just plain old table salt. So all you need to do is give your horses salt in order to meet sodium and chloride requirements and keep them sweating. When it is hot and humid, you should feed at least 70 grams of salt per day. It will depend a little bit on the type of salt you are using, but that is approximately 3.5 to 4 tablespoons of salt daily. If your horse simply won't eat that much salt, then reduce the amount until you find the daily quantity your horse will happily consume. As well as salt in their feed, you must also give your off-the-track access to free choice loose salt, so they can go and consume more salt when they need it. I can't overstate how very important it is that you both feed salt and give access to free choice salt. And in the tropics, don't use salt blocks because horses simply can't consume enough salt when they are forced to lick it off a block. Horses cannot live healthy lives in the tropics without enough salt. If you are watching this and your horse doesn't have access to free choice salt, go out right now and get that sorted. If horses are in work, they'll sweat even more and need extra electrolytes in their diet. When it is hot and humid, horses will lose more than 10 litres of sweat per hour of work. So for every hour of work they do, you need to feed an extra 70 grams of salt. And for horses in moderate to hard work, you may also need to use an electrolyte supplement to help your horse rapidly replace the electrolytes lost in sweat. For help with choosing a good electrolyte supplement, watch the Queensland Off the Track video 11, Supplements and You're Off the Track. Another quick tip is to hose your horse down before you ride. This provides them with evaporative cooling they didn't have to work for and saves a little bit of electrolyte. And of course, hose them off after work for as long as you need to cool them right off. Putting enough electrolyte into your horse is super important, but stopping excess electrolyte coming out is also a critical piece of the puzzle. High protein diets will make your off-the-track urinate a lot. Your horse loses electrolyte in their urine, and the more they urinate, the more electrolyte they lose. So in the tropics, you need to be careful not to overfeed protein. The main thing to avoid is too much lucerne hay, which is high in protein. As a general rule, keep lucerne to a maximum of 2 kilograms per day for a 500 kilogram off the track. That's nice. Your pasture in the tropics can present significant challenges for your off the track. The biggest issue with many warm season grasses, which are the grasses that are commonly found in the tropics, is that they contain a compound called oxalate. Oxalate steals calcium from your horse and will cause calcium deficiency that is so severe your horse will be at extreme risk of breaking their legs. There is an entire Queensland Off the Track video devoted to this topic. please watch Keeping Your Off the Track Safe on Queensland Pastures, so that you can identify the high-risk grasses and feed your off the track in a way that will keep them safe. Warm season grasses, as both pasture and hay, are also lower in energy and protein than temperate or cool season grasses when they're at the same stage of growth. Which means you may need to feed more energy and protein in your off-the-tracks hard feed in order for them to maintain weight and build muscle. For some tips on how to do this, go and watch video 3, Off-the-Track Nutrition into the Future. And look for rule number 3, feed a balanced diet. There are also some specific diets you can use as a starting point in the ebook that goes along with that video. In addition to being hot and humid, the tropical climate is often wet, really wet. And exposure to near constant rain, or standing, sleeping and rolling in pastures that never seem to dry out, set your off the track up to being at risk of skin conditions caused by bacteria or fungi taking up residence on your horse's wet skin. 2 of the most common conditions are rain scald and mud fever, which is also known as greasy heel. Constant wet skin, the abrasive nature of mud, and insect bites can break down your off-the-track's usually impenetrable skin barrier and allow bacteria and fungi to set up residence. These unwelcome microbes then cause unwelcome skin conditions. While managing your horse's environment, using light rugs when possible, and giving them dry areas to escape to are a huge part of managing insect bites and skin conditions, nutrition also has an important role to play. Horses that are healthy and have a strong immune system are better able to repair damaged skin and fend off these infections before they take hold. And nutrition plays a crucial role in maintaining healthy skin and a strong immune system. Your off-the-tracks hindgut microbes are very much in the driver's seat of your horse's immune function. Proper immune function relies on there being a diverse and healthy population of fibre-fermenting microbes in your off-the-tracks hindgut. Again, there is an entire Queensland off-the-track video devoted to this topic. Please watch video 12, Hindgut Health and Your Off-the-Track, to learn how to feed in a way that will support your off-the-tracks hindgut and support their immune function. Feeding for hindgut health will make your off-the-track far less prone to these manky tropical skin conditions. In addition to a healthy hindgut, your off-the-track also needs a diet that is meeting all of their vitamin and mineral requirements in order to have healthy skin and a properly functioning immune system. Vitamins like vitamins A and E, as well as minerals like copper, zinc, selenium and iodine are crucial for skin health and immune function. Fresh green pastures are rich sources of vitamin A and E. But hay that is older than 6 months will have virtually no vitamin A or E left. So if your off-the-track is kept on a hay-based diet or only has access to dry, browned-off pasture, it becomes very important to make sure that your off-the-track's requirement for these vitamins are met. For minerals, Australian forages and grains are inherently low in copper, zinc, selenium and iodine. So you always need to add these to your off-the-tracks diet. Using high-quality vitamin and mineral supplements, balancer pellets and complete feeds at their recommended feeding rate means you will meet your off-the-tracks requirement for the vitamins and minerals they need to keep their skin healthy and their immune system in tip-top condition. For some example diets to use as a starting point, grab the ebook Feeding Your Off-the-Track. Or for those of you with horses on tropical pastures, use the diets from the Keeping Your Off-the-Track Safe on Queensland Pastures ebook. tropical environments create perfect conditions for feed spoilage and infestations. In feed and hay, the warm and wet climate is a fungi's dream, and you can get rapid mould growth and mycotoxin production. The mould and mycotoxins can then cause multiple health issues for your off-the-track, including liver damage, loss of appetite, and colic. Plus, mites and various other six-legged creatures love to take up residence in feed and hay stored in hot and humid conditions. These critters can destroy the palatability, nutrient content, and safety of feed ingredients. There are two main ways you can avoid these issues. Only buy feeds in the smallest quantities practical, and try not to store feeds for any longer than 4 to 6 weeks. For feedstuffs you need to store, including hay, keep it in the coolest place you have with as much airflow around it as possible. Use sheds with raised floors or shipping containers up off the ground, with air vents or whirlybirds to create some airflow inside. And store the hay and feed itself on pallets to allow airflow underneath. If you have supplements, make sure you close the lid or Ziploc bag every single time you use them to stop moisture getting in. Feeding in the tropics can be a challenge, but when done well, your off-the-track can thrive. Here are the most important things to remember when feeding in the tropics. The heat and humidity will make your off-the-track sweat a lot. They need to sweat to keep their body temperature in a normal, safe range. In order to sweat efficiently, your off-the-track needs plenty of water and electrolytes. Provide easy access to very clean, fresh and cool water. And to meet electrolyte requirements, provide lots of forage, feed ordinary salt in your horse's daily feeds, and give your off-the-track free access to loose rock salt. If your off-the-track is grazing, follow the advice given in keeping your off-the-track safe on Queensland pastures to prevent severe mineral deficiency on tropical pastures. Feed in a way that maximises hindgut health to keep your off-the-track's immune system firing on all cylinders. Plus, feed a balanced diet to keep your off-the-track skin and immune system healthy, to reduce your horse's susceptibility to skin conditions. And finally, be mindful of how long and where you store hay and feed, to reduce the risk of feed spoilage and mycotoxins. While the rest of us envy you for the beautiful places you live, we don't envy the additional challenges of feeding an off-the-track in the tropics. But armed with the knowledge you now have, you can keep your off-the-track safe, healthy and happy.